In this lesson, we're going to be finally writing our first tweet. And the nice thing about this lesson is we're not covering any new topics. It's just going to be a culmination of everything we've learned up until now. What we're going to do is create a new screen. We can actually type out your tweet. We're going to create a model, just like we did with our user model, except for tweets, so that we always have the same information when we upload it to Firestore. And that's the last step, actually bringing our data into Firestore. So let's get to it. The way we're going to add tweets is using a floating action button. This floating action button is going to take us to a new screen, which we navigate to using navigator.ofContext. Push a material page route. And I'll call this a create tweet. That's going to be the widget. There we go. I was missing a bracket. So we save it. Nothing shows up because we don't have a create tweet page. So let's set it up. We'll have a new file called create.dart. We're going to have a stateless consumer widget, which we're going to call create tweet. And import Flutterverb pod. We're going to import material. Turn this into a scaffold because we need a basis of what the page is built on. Add an app bar with a title that says post a tweet. That's it. I'll make it just have that for now. So on the home page, we can import this page, and now we should see a button. There's nothing there on the button, so maybe we want to add an icon. A little plus icon, so we know that that's where we add tweets. Okay, we're able to click in it. It takes us to a new page that says post a tweet. So similar to our login page, similar to our update your username page, we're going to need a text form field here. Actually, we could just use a text field here because we only have one and it's not within a form. So remember, every text field or text form field needs a text editing controller. So you can retrieve the value from there. We're going to call this the tweet controller. And we'll add that to our text field, tweet controller. I'm going to save it. Doesn't look too good. Maybe we give it some styling. Can give a decoration of input decoration and give us some borders of outline input border. Now I can't really see that, so maybe we give some padding to this text field. So next we want to center this widget in the middle. So we're going to wrap it with a center widget around the whole thing. And I'll notice nothing happens here. That's because, remember, our column widget expands the total length of whatever it could fit by default. So we can change that by changing the main axis size to be main axis size.min. And there we go. Now it's in the middle. Also, a tweet, this is only one line length, so a tweet's usually longer than that. Let's add a max lines of 4. And another field that text field has that's pretty cool, we could actually do max length of 280 characters, which is the longest a tweet could be on Twitter. And you get a nice little counter down here as you type how many characters you have, and it doesn't let you go past 280. Now, lastly, we're going to need a text button so we can actually do something with that tweet that we put in here. For a child, we're going to have a text called post tweet. So there it is. Now we have our UI set up. The only thing we need is the backend. And that's where we come in with a new provider here. We're going to have a tweet provider. This one is actually going to be a very simple provider. We're just going to call it a tweet provider. And it's going to provide some functions for the rest of our application, which I'll call a Twitter API. So this Twitter API is what we're going to be giving access to our apps with this provider. Well, we're going to do something special here. So there's this reference. This is the reference to other providers that we can use. We're going to pass it into our Twitter API. Why? Because when we go to post a tweet, we're going to want to get the current user's username, his profile picture, and his ID when we post. And in order to do that, we need to reference the user's provider, which is a different provider. So this tweet API will need a ref here. And we need to define the ref. I misspelled that Twitter API thing. And we can finally go to our posting of our tweet. We're going to need the string of tweet. It's going to be asynchronous. And actually, before going to post this tweet, we need to define what a tweet is. So this is where we need a new model. I'm going to call this tweet.dart. So this model is going to be called tweet, and you got to think about what kind of information do we need. So I think first we want the user ID of who posted this, because we want to be able to link it back to them and their profile. When we see somebody's tweet, you usually see their image right on there too. So we're going to pass their profile picture as well. Then we of course need their name, because we need to know who posted this. Then we're going to need the actual tweet content. And lastly, we're going to have a time stamp of whenever it was posted. So we need this timestamp because we want to be able to sort the newest tweets at the top and the oldest tweets at the bottom. Now we create a constructor for each one of those. Make them all view required because we want to make sure all this data is there for every single tweet. And then using our cool data.dart class generator, we can create a data class with this. So Dart class generator adds a to map to both of these. We don't really need that. When we do need to use it, we'll be able to interpret it there. Okay, last step is finally uploading this. We needed to create the model so that we know in the future if we're ever posting and retrieving tweets from everywhere, we always have the right information. So what we're going to do here is await Firestore, which we haven't defined yet. So we're going to need access to the Firestore, which you do by creating an instance. Then we can go to Firestore, go to the collection, and we're going to create a new collection called tweets. And we'll add a new tweet in there. And this is why we made sure to have an actual data class, because you see all of this pop up and you're not getting away, you're not going anywhere until you fill this in. So a lot of this data, the tweet, it works here, but this we get from our current user, which is why we pass in this ref. Go to local user, get the current user, we do ref.read, and we go get it from the user provider. So UID we get from current user.id. Profile pic we get from current user.user.profile pic. The name we get from current user.user.name. And post time we get from timestamp.now. You get this timestamp from the Cloud Firestore library. So we seem to have a problem here. That's because this tweet is an object. Remember, Firestore only takes maps. Thankfully, within our model, we did the data dark class generator, and we have this toMap function. So at the end of all of this, we do toMap, and there we go. Should be all working. Let's test it just to make sure. So go to plus, we'll add my first tweet, post tweet. Well, caught us off guard. We never actually implemented that part. We have nothing that happens on the button press. So here we need to make sure we do ref.read. We go to tweet provider. Tweet provider. We don't need to do notifier here because it's not a state notifier, it's just a regular provider. And I want to do post tweet. We get the actual tweet content from tweet controller.text. And after this happens, we want to actually go back to the previous screen. So we're going to do navigator.pop. Okay, let's try again. My first tweet. Exclamation point, because we're excited. Click post tweet. It goes back here. Nothing happens because we haven't displayed it yet. We're going to display it in the next one. But we should be able to go to our Firestore database, and we see a whole new collection of tweets with my information, the time, November 25th, my profile picture, first tweet, UID ZEJVU, which if we look here, should be ZEJVU, which is my specific profile. So that's it. We're able to post the tweets. Now the last step is to actually display them here.